I think we can all be honest that 2025 was just a crazy year. I think it was a year of uncertainty. It was a year where we wake up every morning not knowing what the heck we're going to get into today. It's the year of all of us waking up and realizing that this ain't it and this is not how we should be living. But it also is the year of positives. Personally, I adopted my first ever fur baby in March of this year, and it's been the best experience of my life. I quit my corporate job due to, well, that was a sad story, but due to burnout, due to just unfairness, like all that stuff. But the problem is, when I quit my job, I thought that the economy wouldn't be as crap and maybe give myself a 6 month break, right? After working two jobs for years. Little did I know it would not be that simple to look for a new job again. So I'm right with y'all. Right with y'all. But I don't regret it. I don't regret it. And that's one thing I can say confidently is I don't really live with a lot of regrets, but I do live with regrets because I think that's human. But I don't live with a lot of regrets. Every single decision I make as an adult is intentional. So the fact that I'm freaking out money, all that stuff, but I don't regret quitting my job because I could just see myself just mentally declining. And I was able, because I worked two jobs forever, I was able to save up enough money over the years due to not having a personal life, which is really, really sad, right? But I was able to save enough money to then take a small little career break for 6 months and then enter back into the workforce because I just never got a break. Even in between jobs, I'd get like literally 2 weeks because I'd have to hurry up and work again. But now that I took the break, it's really hard to find another job. Now I'm at the 6 month. I've been looking even a month ago because the economy is horrific. So we're going to talk a lot about the ups and downs, but will say that's my biggest down point is not being able to find a job and everything being extremely expensive because I didn't account for that. I'm not going to lie. I did not account for inflation. I did not account for tariffs because when I quit, none of this happened. This literally happened within 6 months. Like, it's that bad. I did not think it was going to be this bad, but I don't regret it. No, because I needed to. I think I would have lost myself a lot more if I kept going. If I kept going at my job, I would have lost myself a lot more. And I understand that's a privilege to have. I busted my ass for all of my 20s. I lost experiences that I should have had, right? When you're in your 20s because I was working. Okay? And don't feel bad for me. Listen, don't feel bad for me at all. I still had experiences. But you get what I'm saying. I think some of you can relate to that. It's like now we're in our 30s. We're like, oh shit, like where did all the time go? So I'm here to tell you we're going to reclaim our 30s this year in 2026. All of us are making new friends because I don't know about you guys. I'm like, all of my friends, all like I have a lot, but they're scattered around the world. But like when you're 30 years old, it's like, how do you make friends? Like, I don't really have anybody in my local area, like literally one or two people. And so it's a very strange experience because I used to be extremely social. I used to be out all the time. Like, I used to always make friends. Like, I used to do all that stuff. But COVID changed me. And I know that's 6 years ago, but that was a really pivotal point when you're 20 years old. Like, I hate to say it, but like my prime of my 20s going in and exploring the world, and then it shut down. And when I say prime, I don't mean like I was that girl. No, I mean as in like wanting to do things, like me personally, wanting to go out, wanting to travel, wanting to do all these things. And now I'm like, oh, that gives me anxiety. You know what I'm saying? Now I'm like, ooh, that gives me a little bit of social anxiety. Or, oh, that's so expensive. I don't want to do it. But then I'll have these like little fits of, okay, let's just go out and go go have a good time and go have fun. Yeah, I just lost myself and I had to quickly nip it in the bud because if I didn't figure out my mental health, I don't know where I would be today. I don't even think I'd have Minnie. Having Minnie changed everything. If I did not rescue Minnie and adopt Minnie, and when I did at that time in March, I would have not quit my job. I don't know where I'd started this podcast, done any of my hobbies. I've never done really hobbies in a long time. I wouldn't have done that. I would have started losing weight because I got Minnie. We're walking like 5 times a day. There's so much that has happened that outweighs the negatives. Now, the negatives will start to creep in 2026 if we don't get a job. So it's just one of those things. It's like you've got to take the good with the bad. And I know a lot of your good and bads are two different things, right? So your good and bad might be just pure finances, right? Which I get because people in America are living paycheck to paycheck, the richest country in the world. It's horrific. So I don't mean to put a stain on it, but I just wanted to kind of say my personal thoughts. Like, I get it. Times are effing hard. We can't go on like this. Something drastically needs to change in 2026, whether it's the midterms, if that goes well, like we all think. But one thing I am confident on is we need more independent media. That's one thing I just consume. I literally consume so much independent media and I'm baffled. And I'm shocked by how much mainstream media is not covering important pieces that literally the everyday person needs to know. Yes, tariffs are important. Yes, inflation is important. Yes, but we need to talk about the nitty gritty of that. And I think mainstream media is still scared of the Trump administration. They're bought by like these billionaires. So we can't really trust it. That's why I'm saying we need to turn to more independent news. But I think you all need to be smart too, right? Even though they're independent news, the views are still very biased. Like if you're listening to this podcast, my views are always going to be biased. My views are going to be a little bit biased. I really try to be as independent as possible. And I do think I've come a long way. Like if you knew me, I was quite aggressive with my left wing. I was one of them. I was quite aggressive and I was very defensive of the establishment Democrats. And now, as of my eyes open in the last couple of years, it's embarrassing, horrific, and they're do nothing Democrats to me. So I get it. But I think we all just need to be able to research on our own because we're not reading, right? Because Trump's president. And I'm not just digging on the MAGAs and Republicans who vote for them. I'm also digging on myself. I'm digging on everybody because I voted for people that I'm embarrassed about now with the AIPAC situation, et cetera, because I didn't read. I thought because they had a Democratic label, they went for the party, it's human rights, blah, blah, they check most of the boxes, I assumed I got to vote for them because I don't want this orange asshole in the White House, which I still stand by. I still stand by my vote to an extent. To an extent. There's that extent of like, I stand by it because I would choose them over Trump. But then when you dig deeper into the policies, for example, I voted for, who's a good one I voted for? So for example, I voted for Alex Padilla and Adam Schiff. I did not know, they're two senators here in California. I did not know they loved themselves some AIPAC. I also didn't know what AIPAC was, right? 2 years ago, I had no idea. I had no idea till this year. I'll be dead honest. Until I started the podcast, there was a lot I didn't know. And because I'm forcing myself to research it, it's mind-boggling. That's why I talk about these conversations here on this podcast, because I think you need to know how much we're being played by everybody. So I really learned about it this year. I started distancing myself from the Democrats when middle of Biden's term because I was just like, this is some bullshit. Because I've been following Epstein for a while. And I did think Biden was going to do more. I do understand the separation of DOJ and the presidency. But I also do think that regardless, you should state an opinion, right? So Biden, all of them, Kamala Harris, they should have stated an opinion where they're at. And actually, Kamala Harris came out recently on her book tour saying that, maybe it wasn't to our benefit that we did let the DOJ handle this. Maybe we should have stepped in more. And yeah, I agree. You should have. So, no, I sort of started paying more attention to the BS halfway through Biden's term. And then that sort of sparked a new thing in me. When I turned 30, I started saying yes to everything in my personal life. I started traveling the world again. I started doing all these things. I started seeing other cultures and I was like, oh, we have a real problem in the United States of America. Started to read, started to get more involved. Trump became president, and then I really started to get involved. So I know this isn't about me, but I guess it's my super podcast, but you know what I mean. That's where we're at. So I think we need to read. That's a New Year's resolution. We are all reading on this podcast. If I have to sit through and read line by line of these stupid bills and policies, I don't care. If I have to Google the jargon and read it out on the podcast, I don't care. The 2026 midterm elections, we are paying close attention. Even if this podcast doesn't blow up, I don't care. Because I feel like maybe someone might come across it. Okay, so I just want to say that. I'll be honest, I don't even know where I was at. So there was a lot going on. So this year, I'm just going to jump into this year. Okay, so this year, Donald Trump, the 47th president, who likes to say, by the way, this is a funny thing. He loves to say he won the 2020 election, which he didn't, by the way. He did not. He did not. Because if he did, let me just say, hypothetically, we don't know any evidence, right? So it's my word against yours. You think he won, I think he didn't. Then why do the Republicans not want Jack Smith to testify on the legitimacy of the 2020 election in Georgia. Because, he swears up and down he won. There was a lot of voter fraud, and there wasn't, right? See what I mean? They're gaslighting us. And if you don't know Jack Smith, I suggest let's do our 20 New Year's resolutions early. Google Jack Smith and testifying. And then you'll see Jim Jordan and those crazy Republicans in Ohio State. By the way, go watch that HBO documentary on Ohio State. Jim Jordan, you allegedly knew a lot more about the assault on the men at Ohio State wrestling. Well, Jim Jordan and all them were trying to just be like, nope, this is not going to be public. Well, why not? Why isn't it public? So anyways, tangent, look up Jack Smith. So Donald Trump became president. And in his main message was day one, he's stopping wars. Day one, he's stopping inflation, et cetera, et cetera. Little did you know, I know, whoever knows, he's on his redemption tour. What else? So we had Trump join. Oh my gosh. I'm not going to do this in order at all, by the way. Just so you know, this is not in order, but do you remember one of my favorite memories of 2025 is when Mike Johnson had the audacity to say that Trump was an FBI informant and that he was doing everything to take down to take down Epstein at Mar-a-Lago. Do you remember that Trump this whole time was an FBI informant and none of us knew? This genius orange man just happened to be an FBI informant and none of us knew. And then, do you remember? Mike Johnson backtracked, right? And he was like, well, no, he wasn't literally an FBI informant, but he did help the FBI bring Epstein down at Mar-a-Lago. What's funny with this is the MAGAs truly, and I'm talking about the MAGAs in Congress, like of power, they truly believe they could just say shit, right? We'll talk about Epstein later. But they just thought they can say shit like me on this podcast and they wouldn't get in trouble and not have to deal with the repercussions. But you are an elected official. There's a difference between me and you. I'm just talking on a stupid mic. You're an elected official. You hold the power. You are held to your word, period. So the fact that he now said, and we have on record, that Trump was an FBI informant and was helping the FBI, Thomas Massie, who's been a big part of the Epstein case with Ro Khanna, came out and said, well, this is great. We should be seeing this in the files, right? We should be seeing the reports in the files because he was allegedly an FBI informant back in the day. So we should find out in the files what sort of FBI informating Trump did. I can't wait for that. What else did he say? Oh my gosh. So then when they put the tariffs on us, remember Trump went crazy with the tariffs. He said we would be getting $5,000 back in dividends checks. Do you remember that? First of all, the tariffs in itself need its own section. I don't even know how to tackle that, so I'm just going to say it and you guys know exactly what I'm talking about. He also tried to gaslight us into saying that the countries we're putting tariffs on, they're paying the taxes. They're paying the inflation. No, that's not how tariffs work. And then you have people saying, don't worry, like just wait it out. You'll be fine. Like it will all get... Honey, no, you don't understand. There's no waiting it out. The tariffs is set. There's no rolling back. We will continue to pay. So I'm waiting for my $5,000 check. They never talk about that $5,000 check. Why? So yeah, waiting for $5,000. Oh, wait. And then he also did say toward the end of the year, recently actually, that we're getting $2,000 checks. So that's a collective, what, $7,000? Right? Yeah, $7,000 we should be expecting. He said the $2,000 will come in the middle of this year. Yeah, so, and let's just stick on the whole tariff things and all that stuff. So not only did he increase tariffs and we pay for it, but he then, while the farmers are screwed. They have no cattle. There's no beef. There's no just anything because Donald J. Trump decided to put our agriculture business in Venezuela. And because of that, the farming business and industry here in the United States of America that voted for Trump, they're going to go out of business. And I say voted for Trump because I believe Trump told the farming community he was going to invest all this money into them. So a lot of these people voted thinking he was going to do that. And then obviously they voted for other reasons, just like racist, just stupid, just like they can't fathom a black woman being president. I bet you don't. I bet you regret that now. Bet you regret that now. Anyways, so he went ahead. So the farmers are out of business. They are now turning on Trump. And not only that, to add the icing of the cake, he sends $40 billion over to Argentina. Oh, sorry. Did I say Venezuela with the cow? I meant Argentina. Everything was happening. This is all Argentina. So he spent 40 billion. He sent 40 billion over to Argentina. $40 billion. We are in national debt. We have a homeless crisis. They did layoff. Oh, we got to talk about Doge. I'll talk about Doge in a minute. So he sends 40 billion over to Argentina. He then yells at what is it? The press. He yelled at a journalist saying, "You don't know. They're fighting for their lives. Argentina's fighting for their lives. We're fighting for our lives here too." What are you talking about? So 40 billion gone. We've added trillions of dollars to debt because since this year, since Trump has gained presidency, his whole family have become multi-billionaires. They've made over $10 billion plus. It's really, really bad. So we I don't even know what to say about that. There's nothing else to say. That's it. Oh boy, what that Doge. Let's talk about Doge. So, the Department of Efficiency or whatever the heck, government efficiency. Doge comes in, lays off everybody, and dips. I've not heard of Doge since. Doge is gone. Elon Musk is gone. And then at the same time, when Elon was criticizing Trump, Doge got fired, et cetera, et cetera. Elon drops a bomb on all of us saying Trump's in the files, the Epstein files. Although we all kind of knew that because he's been in the picture since. We've seen it. Trump has been in photos with Epstein throughout the years. Survivors have said that they met Trump at Mar-a-Lago with Epstein, etc. And then all of a sudden Elon Musk says, because he was pissed, Trump's in the files. So there's that. And I think we should talk about Epstein. I mean, listen, go listen to all of my podcasts on Epstein. We're following that story very closely here on the A-Files. But the Epstein case is one that will go down in history as the biggest fuck up from this administration. The way they have been covering up for Donald J. Trump and his horrific, nasty ass self is truly insane. Because they are covering for pedophiles. They are covering for pedophiles who raped minors. Children, 13-year-olds, 15-year-olds, 17-year-olds, 14-year-olds, you name it. They did it. They did it. The proof is in front of us. I don't know what is taking so long. They all need to go to jail. The system has let everybody down. We have elected nothing but pedophiles. The whole world as we knew it, the whole structure as we knew it is done because Epstein had international ties. I'm not going to jump into Epstein a lot now because I have covered it extent and there's so much to go over. But it is the biggest sex trafficking ring ever. Ever. It has international ties. I'm reading Virginia Giuffre's book. I read it actually. She names drops, or doesn't exactly, well, she names drops people that are out there, but she gives very, very accurate hints into people by describing them, describing how they are. You can just put two and two together. And it's still going to this day. Pam Bondi, the DOJ, Kash Patel, they all called it a Democratic hoax. Or at least Kash Patel definitely did. They all denied it. They said there's no credible evidence. And now there's millions of documents. They are hiding Donald Trump from the documents. Why? Because he's in it. Because he did horrific things, in my opinion. Yeah, he's a horrific man. So yeah, this is our freaking president. America as we know it is done. And I don't even know as we know it. We have to rebuild, and that will take generations. So in our lifetime, we're probably not going to see anything great. I'm not going to lie to you. In terms of politics, in terms of the state of the country, in terms of rights, I don't think there's going to be much movement in our lifetime. And a lot of movement has happened, sure, legalizing stuff, but there's still a lot of rights that aren't there within the legalization. So I don't really know, I don't really know what the country's going to do. It's so divided. Even with me, even when I think of, because I know I'm a left-leaning independent, which is, there's not a lot of us, apparently, and it sucks. But I don't know if I could ever vote for a Democrat again. That's how bad it is. And people say, oh, people are so consumed in politics. You're not. And yeah, because our lives, people's livelihoods revolve around policies that are being made. And there are people that still support this administration. I have a lot of respect for the people that come out against this administration that they voted for, and they give very like, I'm not just coming out because I'm not just coming out against this administration because it's a trend, right? And because it's horrific. No, I'm coming out against this administration for these reasons, and being very clear about it. I do think people have ulterior motives. Marjorie Taylor Greene said nasty things about people. I just don't believe you change overnight. I would love to know more about the dupe. Like, are you saying you got fooled? Like, are you saying you're not smart enough to see between the lines? Like, I don't know. Like, I know people that voted for Trump because they're Republicans. They don't vote for him, they voted for the party. Now, that's what I've been doing with the Democrats, right? I mean, if you kind of put it in perspective, it's kind of what we've all been doing for years. Now, Trump is a very extreme case, so I think there's a lot to dig in there. But in terms of the idea and the process of doing it, I kind of get it because I did it with the Democrats. Now I'm being very cautious with how I do it. I for sure could tell you right now I'll never vote for a Republican in my life, ever. The only Republican, nope. I was going to say Thomas Massie, but the only thing I really agree with him is Epstein. Everything else, he still thinks all the bullshit is the right thing. But Thomas Massie, I like him. Oh, and another thing, actually, there's more things I like. He's not APAC, and he doesn't believe in stocks. All that. But in terms of other things, he's just, again, a Republican. So I don't think I'd ever vote for a Republican. But in terms of Democrats, it's going to be tough for me, too, because we have to be very careful. Like, will they be accepting PAC money in different forms? And listen, I just want to backtrack, too. Everyone with the Jasmine Crockett and James Tallarico that's happening in Texas, a lot of people are criticizing, well, why does APAC have anything to do with, and I get it. It really is like a personal thing. But I do want to say something about Jasmine Crockett. She has not taken any APAC money. There is this narrative that I kind of fell for it too for a sec. Not going to lie to you. I fell for it a little bit too because I was reading Rogue DC and I liked them, but they really highlighted her APAC stuff, but it's not what I really thought. And so she hasn't taken any money. However, she did go on a trip to Israel with the congressional team. Should she have done that? No. What happened there, I'd love to know, but she has not taken any APAC money. So I think that's important to know. And James Tallarico is the same. I think the difference between the two is Jasmine Crockett's already at a congressional level. Like, she's already in the federal system or whatever it's called. So with her, I was listening to Joy Reid's live stream. Oh my God, I love Joy Reid. I listen to her all the time. But I was listening to her part about Jasmine Crockett and James Tallarico, and she was saying Jasmine Crockett's already in the system. So for her, it's a promotion. So she's kind of gone through the course of like, all right, she was local in Texas, and she became a congresswoman, and now she's going to the Senate. So it's a natural progression. And so she knows the ins and outs of Congress already. James Tallarico's only been on the state level. I do think that matters. I do actually think that matters, especially in a Donald Trump era. So yeah, I think I really like how James Tallarico discusses the Bible and the Bible within schools in Texas. And he's really big on his faith, but he also is really big on church and state. And I have to say, I really respect that. As someone who's more atheist and more agnostic, but believes in the right of religion, I really love that there's a man who's really deep in his faith and speaks out against extremism, but also speaks out against church and state. Because, in Texas, they're trying to implement Turning Point, Charlie Kirk's religious stuff into the Texas system, and the more I learn about religion, the more I'm like, the way these people are weaponizing the Bible, because I'm actually reading it because I think it's important that I read, at least for me, just to understand where people's arguments come from, because I think that's the whole point of, growth. And one thing that always stood out to me is in the Bible, they say you need to respect immigrants and foreigners. You need to treat them like they are your people, like they're your community, like they're your loved ones. Yet what we're doing with ICE and all of that goes absolutely against everything the Bible says. So I love James Tallarico's perspective. He is very much in his faith, which I respect, but he's really good at separating because he knows that in the United States of America, this is not a Christian nation. There are so many beliefs, but there's also a lot of people like myself who don't have any. So there's my thing on religion and politics. I believe in church and state, but I also believe in the freedom of religion. I absolutely do. And especially now that I've been reading passages from the Bible just so I get a better understanding of people's views on immigration, people's views on the gay community, etc., the more I'm like, wow, the words that I'm hearing come out of these homophobic people and these anti-racist, anti-immigrant people is not what I'm reading in the Bible. So the more you open your eyes, the more you read, the more you see things a lot differently. And that's a great example from myself. And so I just wanted to say that example because the more you read, right, the more you educate yourself, even if it's a chore, even if the language is really hard to digest, like at least you're trying and you're trying to understand. And I think religion for me, of all religions, it's just been around for so long that there's so much I need to learn. So yeah, I'm starting with Christianity. Then I want to move on and try others. Like I want to learn about Buddhism and stuff. And I think it's gonna be really cool. So maybe I'll update y'all in here on my little quest, but what I'm trying to say is they are weaponizing the Bible in the wrong way. Is what I'm starting to realize. So you all probably knew that already, but someone like me, we're just starting to learn. So there we are. What else? The National Guard, ICE, horrific. And I do want to mention the Charlie Kirk killer, murder. Charlie Kirk was shot and murdered at an event. And that's scary, right? Like that's scary for public speakers. That's scary for people that want to do this, radio, TV, blah, 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 anything public. That's horrific. But I will say the way that they're handling his assassination is very side-eyed to me. I don't get it. I'm surprised none of them have talked against shooting, like guns reform or any of that, and his wife is just going on stage with sparklers. And I'm like, I've never seen that stage of grief. Never. And then you got Candace Owens and her, they're just all going back and forth. It's kind of crazy. So I've never seen people grieve like this. And I'd be very curious to where we're at next year with Erica Kirk and Turning Point. I wonder if their audience are going to turn against them because they're split. Israel's war on Gaza was an eye-opening one for me. It was an eye-opening one for a lot of people here in the United States. I think a lot of us we may not have been as in tune over the years, and that's for many different reasons. Shit, we got life, right? But I think a lot of us are waking up now, and it's working. And Benjamin Netanyahu, the war criminal, he's panicking because a lot of Americans are saying, hey, I'm talking about the MAGAs are pissed. Like, not just us, but the MAGAs hate it for many other different reasons, but more like racist reasons. But you get what I'm saying. The MAGAs are pissed. Anyone that runs on Israel's relationship with the U.S. will lose going forward. Truly. Maybe they'll win in like certain states, the ones where like they're getting the Israel money. But in terms of Benjamin Netanyahu and his warmongering committee and his just nasty self, yeah, I don't think that's going to fly anymore. So I'm never going to vote for anybody that sends money over to Israel. No, because they're not even they're literally doing it to suppress the Palestinian people. Like it's just, I'm not having that anymore. So no. They also lied about a cease deal. Gaza's completely gone and they have nothing to go home to. The Palestinian people have nothing. And they want to turn it into a fucking spaceship. They literally, and I'm really pissed about this. Like, this is one of the issues. I talked about this earlier on, that I think that going into the 2026 election, I'm a single issue voter. I really do. I think for me, it's AIPAC, and it's a lot deeper because I've explained this. My money, my hard-earned money, your hard-earned money went to fund this genocide for years, and they get free healthcare. They get all this stuff. Benjamin Netanyahu is living in a freaking palace. Yeah, hoarding millions of dollars while committing genocide. We're doing that though. We are. Our money. We're committing genocide. We didn't vote for that. So our officials need to be held accountable. So yeah, no more. It is still free Palestine. It's free Sudan, Congo, everything. But I think, yeah, I'm definitely turning into a single issue voter. I'm never, ever, ever going to vote for anybody that supports a genocide, period. And Adam Schiff in California is the biggest piece of, he has accepted over $7 million from Israel. He's done. I'm never going to vote for him again. So I think Gaza was a huge reflection point for 2025, for sure. Israel's war on Gaza was one of the biggest reflection points. And then Mandami won, right? So you got Mandami and you got all of that. You've got big movements here in the U.S. I know it's only in New York, but I think that's going to transcend. And also the Boston mayor, I believe her name is Mayor Wu. Yep, Michelle Wu. Boston Mayor Michelle Wu. She's a social democrat. She's a part of the Democratic Party, but they say that she was before Mandami. So I'm going to research her more. I do want to move to Boston, actually, so I definitely want to research her more. We had a government shutdown, the longest government shutdown in history. It's so crazy that I kind of forgot about the government shutdown. Like, that's how much stuff's progressed in just a short amount of time. Because the government shutdown was for 43 days. 43 days. The final vote in the House to end the government shutdown was 22 to 209. And keep in mind, our elected officials still got paid. They still got paid almost $200,000, while we all didn't. While the federal workers, well, not me, but while federal workers didn't. Oh, I wouldn't even say not only that, but SNAP benefits, all the benefits, that SNAP benefits crazy to me. They withheld SNAP and food benefits from people saying they didn't have the money when the pot of money was already there through our tax dollars. Just so you know, there's a backup fund that is already funded for things like this. They didn't use it. Our tax dollars, they didn't use to fund SNAP. Donald Trump's the biggest con artist. He's such a fraud that literally is at the heart of the Epstein case. It's insane. And then we had a lot of school shootings, horrific school shootings. Overseas, they had the Bondi Beach shooting, horrific anti-Semitic shooting, right? Against Jewish people. It was horrific. It's disgusting. So school shootings, to me, I don't understand why we're still, I don't know what we're going to do. What do parents out there, hear me out, what do you guys do when that happens? Because I remember, so in Oregon, I grew up in Oregon, and I've had a couple instances where I had to get under the table because someone actually one time in particular, my mom came to school because someone brought a gun to school. We were on lockdown. All of our parents were alerted because I remember my mom was like, I'm coming, because I was texting my mom. It was when we had those small phones, and I was texting my mom, like, school shouldn't, like, she showed up because we didn't know what was going to happen. But I'm so happy nothing happened. But that's not the case for a lot of schools in the United States, from high school to pre-K. Remember Newton? All those years ago, we're still talking about the same horrific violence. And so, yeah, school shootings is I just don't think it will ever change in America. Like, what do we really do about it? And it's so sad. So parents, like, I would love to know, how do you feel in today's age with all of this violence going on? Because I know a lot of people are doing homeschooling. I know that's very popular. Personally, I couldn't do a homeschooling. I just think you got to be real buttoned up for that. Like, I believe in the public school education system. It has a lot of flaws and it needs a lot of work, but I believe in it. I believe in teachers, maybe because my dad was a teacher, a high school teacher. So, like, maybe because my dad was a teacher, it's a bit more personal. I don't know. I believe in it, but this scares me. And I can understand why this scares parents. So I just think that 2025 was full of a load of bullshit, and I just had to get this off my chest. But in a nutshell, the Epstein files is way deeper than we thought. Inflation is not going to go down. The unemployment line is long as fuck. Unemployment's at a record high. Inflation's at a record high because of the stupid tariffs. I don't know what people are going to do. Rent, you can't buy a house. Rent's astronomical. You can't buy a house. And then for those who do have a house, I bet you hate the HOA fees. It's just, I don't know what people are going to do, especially my age, millennials. What are we doing? Millennials, help me out. What are we doing? What are y'all doing with your finances? How are y'all living? How do you buy your food? Like, oh, this is crazy. All right, I'm going to be back for positive news, I promise. Like, I'm going to do some positive stuff, but I just have to let this off my chest. I don't care. Misery loves company. So if you want to be a little bit miserable, just let's get it out of our system before the new year, because I'm hitting the ground running. Come the new year, we're going to speak positively. I hope that we get a couple days in the new year where there's no BS. But at the end of the day, release the files. That's another thing. Where are the million files? All right, y'all. Well, that's some of the bad news of 2025. I'll come back with more positive news. And if I don't, it means the editing didn't do its thing. But I wish everybody a happy new year. I really do.